how you doing? My name's Dave, and if you've gone too long without making an iPad video, you can call me Daveypoo, the mobile music minstrel. How you doing? All right, today we're back with our favorite apeMatrix, because apeMatrix got a bunch of new features that they just rolled out yesterday, and Sugar Bytes has got a whole bunch of new stuff that just came out. So hey, we're going to talk about both of those today, and we're going to do some new stuff. So as per usual, I'm going to try to cram in like a whole bunch of different ideas into one video here, so I'm going to move along at all speeds, so let's get cracking. Alright, let's talk quickly about some of the apeMatrix new features. There's a whole bunch of new things that Alessandro just rolled out in apeMatrix, and they're really, really cool. You can see the layout is constantly being tweaked here. Down at the bottom, we have a very new little stopwatch icon here that I'm going to click on. Boom. This brings up latency compensation settings. So basically what happens is sometimes when you're running an audio signal through multiple apps, you end up hearing the delay between the signal coming from the main app and also as it goes through the other apps. It takes time for the iPad to think about them and process all this information, right? So that's what causes latency. It causes the sound signal to be delayed, and sometimes you can hear that. Well, now we have an entire screen dedicated to correcting that, and we can unlock these things and we can drag the settings out, and we can actually delay the audio coming out of primary app 1 so that it'll match up with the signal coming out of app 2 where it's delayed. It's brilliant. It's a wonderful thing. We're not going to dive too deeply into that today unless we need it, but hey, it's there, so there you go. All right. Also, he's added, you see here on the bottom, instead of just the mixer and the menu and the MIDI matrix, now we have this other sandwich button that brings up matrix presets. So now you can save routings in case you want a quick switch between different matrix routings. You could like set up a jam and you could set up all of your AUV3s, but then you could route them in multiple different ways and save the different routings. Pretty cool. Okay, what else do we got here? We also have MIDI sources that now show you can have multiple MIDI sources coming through apeMatrix. We'll get to that in a little bit because I'll show you that in action. We have new AUV3s that he's added in here. We've got a, let's see, go down to, so you can see this whole screen's totally different. I'll get there in a second. Gain and pan right here, okay? You can now have an AU dedicated just to the gain and the panning. And remember, this is an AUV3, so it works outside of apeMatrix too. You can use it in any other DAW you want to use it in. Cubases, you can use it in AUM, you could use it in Nano Studio, I guess. I don't know, I don't use those apps, so you know, functionality may vary, but hey, it's an AU, so it can be used outside of Matrix, is my point. We also have a new MIDI Send, which is actually down here under Send MIDI here. And this one's pretty cool too. It can be a MIDI controller. It can send CC control data. So hold on, we'll get there too. We're going to remove that for a second. And, and the last thing I wanted to show you is, on the AU selection screen in the inter-app audio, he's now got, everything has been moved from the bottom to the top, so all of your different subcategories are here, but he's also got a favorites. So if I click on this, you can see all the ones that I've favorited, and it just filters out my favorites. It does it for that, it does it for inter-app audio also. So really nice extra function there. Thanks, Alessandro, you rule. All right. So that's a quick blast in 2 seconds through some of the new functions. We'll be using some of those more in today's session. Now, let's get to the thing. My good buddy and Patreon, John from Berkeley, requested that I do a video based on Cyclop and apeRello. And since he's a good patron of mine and a good friend of mine, I wanted to honor his request. I'm going to do something based on Cyclop and apeRello. It took me a little while to figure out my application for these. Part of my love-hate relationship with Sugar Bytes is that while I love their apps, I think their apps are brilliant and they sound beautiful, it's not always the style sonically that I'm looking for. I like analog style stuff, things that are real gritty and harsh and dubsteppy kinds of sounds. Those aren't what I normally lean towards. So I find apps like Cyclop a little too harsh for most of my applications. Also, apeRello, it's great. It makes amazing cinematic sounds, but I don't have an application for that all the time. So I found an application. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open up an instance of Outany. Okay, Outany, I call it Outany. We're all going to call it something different, whatever. Okay. Outany's cool. This is a unreliable sequence generator. It basically just generates a single note sequence, and you can set it to have variations. It's brilliant. It just plays itself. It's really nice. So I had an idea here. So we're going to set this to sequence length 4. We're going to set the to quarter notes. We're going to set the tempo down here to 86 BPM. Sequence length 4. Gate length is going to be pretty long, almost the entire note. We're going to set it to an E Dorian scale. I use Dorian scales a lot. I use Dorian scales because I like the minor third, the interval, and I like the major 6. I just like the sound of it, and it works well when I improvise. It just kind of works for my head. You get the minor third, so you can do blues runs, and you can come down that pentatonic scale. That flat third makes everything sound really bluesy, but the major 6 there, the natural 6 in the scale, I don't know, just gives it a real happy feel, so it gets that kind of combination of happy and bluesy all together. So I use Dorian a lot. Anyway, we have Altony here, quarter notes. It's going to do a 4-note sequence in a key of E against a Dorian scale, and it's going to play Cyclop. Now, I created a preset just for this in Cyclop. I took one of the ones that comes with it, and I adjusted it a bit to my liking. So go here, and we go to Daveypoo. Fuzz bass, Fox bass, lead, whatever. You get the idea. Okay, so let's play this and see if we got sound. No, because we haven't routed anything. There we go. Alright, let's... Alright, and we're going to drop this down. Nice and low, okay? Alright, so we got a bass line set up. Cool, I mean, you know, sounds deep. Sonically, it's interesting. Melodically, mildly so, I suppose. Here's where it gets cool. I'm going to throw in an instance of Tony Saunders' MIDI echo. So what this is it's basically a MIDI delay. It's MIDI, so it's not using audio. So it's taking the incoming signal and it's generating repeating MIDI notes after that. So let's see what it's like. First of all, let's wire it up. Go down to the matrix, wire it up. So, sorry, Altony is going to be driving MIDI echo. MIDI echo is going to be driving something that we haven't set up yet. So MIDI echo is cool because it's MIDI. Right? So it's not audio. So we're not pitch shifting audio. We're sending out separate MIDI notes. It took me a while to figure out an application for this and how to make it musical. But I really like the concept of it, and I like chaining all of these MIDI sequencers and MIDI toys together as you get really interesting results. Here I'm going to make this, I'm going to make it 5 echoes, and we're going to, 5 echoes. And we're going to skip one of them, just to make the rhythm interesting. So you can mute the various echoes here. So I could mute all these and it wouldn't matter because I'm only doing 5 echoes. So I'm gonna mute 2 just for ha-has. Pitch I set to 4. So what that means is that every time it generates a note, it's gonna be, actually I'm sorry, I'm light. I'm gonna set it to 5. It's gonna be 5 semitones above the previous notes. So 5 semitones is a perfect fourth, is the interval. So it's just gonna create fourths above each other, on and on and on. The delay right now is on fixed here. So if I click on fixed, it switches over to tempo. You have to be careful with Tony Saunders' apps because the way he defines delay is he defines it as divisions of whatever the main bar or beat is. And I'm not really entirely sure. But what I do know is when you look at this, and for instance, if I go down here and I have it say 1/4, right? 1/4. It's, these knobs are twitchy. That's not mapped to a quarter note. That's 1/4 of a beat, which is 16th notes. So it's a little tricky to conceptualize. So pay attention and just be aware. So I'm going to set this to 2-to-1. I want to have it play an echo every 2 beats. I'm going to leave a space because I'm going to add one more thing in there, but not quite yet. So now we're going to go to apeRello. I call it apeRello. Some people call it apeRio. I don't know what the heck it's called. I'm calling it apeRello. Unless somebody from Sugar Bytes corrects me. Hey, and feel free to correct me. I'll start calling it the correct way, if I'm not already. Okay. Alright, here we go. apeRio. Now, I'm going to choose a bells sound. I'm going to go with Balinese. Okay. And I'm going to have MIDI echo is going to play apeRio. So now, anytime apeToNi plays a note, it should be sending echoes to MIDI echo, which is going to be playing apeRio. So let's see. And if I stop, you hear that the echoes still go. So let's slow down apeToNi to be 1 beat, or 1 bar per note. Alright, now it's... Okay. I changed the tempo a little bit of the echo so you could hear it echo a little more. We're going to turn up the gain. There we go. That's kind of nice. Alright. So now we've got apeToNi playing Cyclop, but also triggering MIDI echo, which is playing apeRio. We're going to go one step further. Pagefell, the developers of apeToNi, have another app called Cality. What Cality does is it generates a cloud of notes based around whatever the incoming signal is. So what we're going to do here is I've got apeToNi is playing MIDI echo. MIDI echo is now going to play Cality, and Cality is going to play apeRio. So what's going to happen is the MIDI echoes that are generated are going to create clouds of notes. I have to tell apeToNi how I want it to map that cloud. I'm going to set it on E. I'm going to set it on Dorian. I'm also going to go over here to distribution under cloud and hit minor. I don't fully understand all of apeToNi. I've only played with it a bit. So I'm setting it to settings that I know that have worked for me in the past that I like. There's a lot more going on here. You can actually split the signal out of Cality and send the cloud and the pitch things to different places, I believe. Yeah, cloud channel and chord channel. There you go. That's what it is. So you can send things out to different places from Cality. We're not going to go quite that far, but I'm going to have Cality add 1 note right now. The range is going to be, it's going to add it over a 2-octave range. We're going to have the resolution be 1/8 notes. Nice long 1/8 notes. And we're going to push this up a bit. Transpose it. So now let's see what happens when I hit play. The chiming bells should be more interesting. And now I've created this bed, of bells and chiminess in the background. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw in a gain pan module. We're going to route the signal out of apeRio and into the gain pan. Now I can bring that down a little bit. And we're going to do this. And let's see if we got some effects here. All right. Now we've got a bed of something going on that we can start from. Now I'm going to switch over to Matrix 2. I've got everything set up over here working fine. I want to leave some extra slots open in case I want to do more with this. I don't want to just go in ahead with my next instrument and then realize I've run out of slots. So, in advance of that, let's move to another matrix. Now, I'm going to load up Egoist. Now, let's pause this. Keep going, see? It's really nice. Okay, I set up this earlier. It was called Big and Deep. I'm going to use Egoist to play the drums and to play another melody line or another bass line or some other sort of note-based thing using the bass here, but it might not be bass. So let's check this out. I made a beat. I just made a simple beat in here. Okay, let's hear how it's, and I added some effects to it. Let's do the beat without the effects first so you can hear what's going on. It's fine by itself. Let's add some of the built-in effects on apeMatrix. Okay. Now, I'm going to run apeMatrix through Degrader by Clevgrand. I'm just going to give it some distortion, some beef. It's going to make it grittier and dirtier so it's not so clean. Whoa! Alright, that was loud. Hold on, kids. Alright. So this is just the kit that I chose in Egoist. This is the default kit that's in there. I changed nothing. I just put the beat in and put it on Degrader, and you just saw what I did, and it instantly made it interesting. And the effects here in apeMatrix, oops, I just used a little bit of reverb and a little bit of chorus and lo-fi on that initial kick hit. And if I go back to beat, now you'll notice I also have a bass line here in apeMatrix, but it's not playing the internal synth here in Egoist. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have it playing yet another Sugar Bytes synth. So we're going to go to Factory. Alright, I gotta be honest with you. This one's new. And Factory has very quickly become my favorite of the Sugar Bytes synths. This thing is incredible. Frankly, it's like Cyclop and Unique and Apparillo all had a baby, and this sounds like all of them. All of the best parts of all of them. I'm convinced this can probably do what those other three apps can do also, and then more. I haven't proven that, but man, this thing sounds great. And the interface makes sense to me more than the others. There's a lot of really, really deep features in here. I don't have the space to dive all into this right today, but we're going to use some Factory here in this jam so we can keep this sort of Sugar Bytes centric. Alright, let's pick a sound that I like. I don't know what's going to work here. Shortest pluck. So, I'm going to send out the MIDI from Egoist and have it controlling Factory. The MIDI out from Egoist, I believe, only sends the bass line. That's really nice. That was completely unexpected. Wow, every once in a while I do something right. Alright, so I'm going to pitch up this synth. Alright. Ooh. Well, that's nice. Okay, so that was completely unexpected. So I've gone through Factory, a lot of the presets, and I favorited or rated some of them, and I literally just picked this at random. That's brilliant. Okay, so here we go. Look. So, in a little bit of time here, I've been able to chain together some MIDI apps I've been able to use all Sugar Bytes centric synths and things. The MIDI triggers aren't always Sugar Bytes, but you can do it with their triggers too. Let's take this one step further here. Let's add one more element. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add an instance of Thesis as only a MIDI instrument. Now, I don't like synthesis, I gotta be honest with you. This interface turns me off. I find it confusing. Clearly this is powerful and can do a lot, but I just don't have the patience for this, really. You can double tap and zoom in. I think the interface doesn't do this justice, but we can still use it here. So let's go to, let's pick a pattern here. Let's just pick something at random. Hey, quart pop. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to sound like, but we're going to use it to drive unique. Because, hey, let's use all the Sugar Byte stuff in here. Let's go Thesis to control unique. Now let's pick something leady here. Fat lead. Hopefully that's not too bad. I'll turn this down. Okay, so clearly I've got to change this into the correct key here. So we're going to do this. It's going to be Dorian. And the root is going to be... It's E, and then... Oh, that's how you do it. Okay, well, that's not great, but it's kind of interesting. We can make it a little more interesting. Okay, that's not bad. Alright, that's kind of interesting, right? I want to do something else with the bass over here. I feel like the bass is cool, but the bass could be cooler. So I'm going to do something that I don't traditionally do, which is use an interrupt audio instrument. We're going to use apeMatrix. Alright. So we're going to come back here. We're going to send Cyclop through apeMatrix. Kind of just poking around here. That sounds perfect. Alright, so let's hear what's going on here. Okay, so apeMatrix is adding a little bit of stutter and life to what's going on in the bass. If we add the bass in. I'm going to go one step further with the bass. I'm going to throw it through an instance of Tornado. Just because I can. but we're going to send it through both apeMatrix and Tornado. That sounds like fun. So that's what, Control 5? Or no, there you go. That's a pretty big, beefy, meaty sounding groove with a lot going on. Okay? There's so much, both with the Sugar Bytes apps and now in apeMatrix with all of these added AUV3s. I mean, we didn't even touch the MIDI send. Let's just look at that briefly. It's under Send MIDI, that's what it is. So what I could do here with this, just quickly, let's say I wanted to have a control surface for some of these. Let's go to the mix of this. I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to go here. Oh, that's not going to learn it because I have to route the controller to that. So let's see if it'll do it now. There we go. Okay, so you see how when I move the red thing over here on the mix, it moves the mix on the effects. We're going to do that with this one too. Hold down on the mix, learn, and then we do over here. Okay, and this is going to actually, CC is going to be a different CC. This one's going to be 9, undefined, and we'll do that again. Learn. Okay, so check this out. Now that I've got these learned, right, and whatever, apeMatrix has a bunch of LFOs. Why would I want this? Well, if I click here in the middle on this XY pad, check this out. I can stretch this out, and now as this plays, now I have a live XY pad built in to apeMatrix. Okay, so you see, there's so much more now. Let's go quickly here. Oops, let's go quickly to the Matrix and show. If I go down to unique, which I've mapped, the MIDI, Send MIDI is mapped to control unique. If I click on the filter and go to sources, you see now there are multiple ports out of the Send MIDI AUV3. Now, MIDI ports and MIDI channels, they work a little differently from each other. I don't fully understand them because I don't use hardware, and from what I understand, MIDI ports are used a lot in hardware that has multiple outs. Frankly, you're going to have to Google that one, man, and you know, the day that I get more hardware pieces and need to use ports, I'll learn how to use it, and then I'll do a video about it, and I'll teach you about it. But until then, Google is your friend. You know, there's, oh gosh, there's so much. This just goes on and on and on and on and on. So I want to point out one last tidbit, and I know we're going on super long, but that's okay. One last tidbit, because this really blew my mind, that I didn't know about apeMatrix. It makes it even better. So we already know that we can go into any of these synthesizers, and up here, or whatever sound generators, I'll use unique for a change. And if I click on this little thing here, it brings up all of my control options, and I can map the internal LFOs everywhere. Well, did you know that if you bring up the LFO here, that these arrows that determine the width of the throw of the knob, they can go both ways. You can actually grab the, sometimes you can grab the, there you go, you can grab the bottom one. So I can have left be 100 and right be, so here, the leftmost point is 0 and the rightmost point is 1. So the rightmost point is full on, and the leftmost one is full off, but you can reverse that. I can make it go the other way in case you have a knob or something in a synth that throws the other way. So I can change it so that the leftmost value is now 100% on and the rightmost value is 100% off, or whatever the opposite is. You get the point. You see what I'm doing on the screen. Even if I chump the words, you understand what's going on. You're not idiots. So all of this functionality is just tools so that you can make good music. Go out, program some stuff up, throw some MIDI connections together, get deep into the thick of it, and make some noise, everybody. I hope you really like this video. There's going to be more apeMatrix stuff coming soon. Thanks for sticking around. Please look at my Patreon page and support me on Patreon. I'm doing stuff over there, but I'm not doing as much because there's only a couple of people right now. I would love more Patreon support. It would allow me to do bigger and better and crazier videos on more topics with more camera angles and craziness. So, please like the video. It really helps the channel. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more. Don't forget to go over to the Audio Bus forum. I hang out there a lot. Check me out on Facebook. I also have a traveling blog that my family does called Tiny Lion's Big World. My 8-year-old son does a regular cheese blog, so you should check that out there too, called Eli's Cheeseverse. Thanks everybody for watching. Love yous guys. Hope this helped, and I'll see yous next freaking time, baby. Peace.